Hello, everybody. Well, at the beginning, let me first welcome all of you to this educational program, which is going to be based on Over to You textbook series. Today, I'm going to deal with Book 12, Module 2, Unit 5, Vocabulary. Before the break, I'd like you to get ready, so prepare your books, your notebooks. I will be more than happy to meet you after the break. So see you after the break. Welcome back to our virtual educational program. As I said a minute ago, today we are going to deal with Module 2, Unit 5. Well, let's get started by having an idea about our module and about our unit. So your module is this one, Natural World, okay? And your unit is about precious resources. And if you want to be more precise, we are going to talk about recycling, which means to treat or to process used or waste materials so as to make suitable for use. So we are going to talk about something new taken from something old. You may ask yourselves what kind of materials that we can recycle. These are some examples. You can recycle the rubbish, the glass, metals, plastic and paper and cardboard, okay? Before dealing with the vocabulary items that you have in Unit 5, let me give you an idea about the types of questions that you may have in vocabulary. You have 4 types of questions. The first one is MCQ, or which is short for multiple choice. Then you have gap filling, in which you are asked to fill in some spaces with words. Then you have sentence construction. And the last task is word definition. These tasks are divided in this way. In your quiz, you will have only 2 types of questions. The first one is a multiple choice question. And we will have one of these 2 questions, whether we will have sentence construction or word definition. This is for the quiz. Now, as for your exam, we will have 2 questions. The first one is multiple choice, and the second is gap filling, okay? Now let's get started by having an idea about some lexical items that you have in Unit 5, their meaning, their definition, and some sample examples. The first word is collection points, and as it is illustrated here, it's clear that we are talking about particular spots or places or positions in an area where rubbish or litter is gathered in order to be recycled. I always advise my students not to rely on definitions because they are hard to digest. The best thing to learn the meaning of the word is to rely on sample examples in order to have an overall meaning about the word in its boundaries. And I'll show you how committed I am. This is my example. We should take all our waste, glass and paper, to special collection points to be recycled. Okay, now let's move to the second vocabulary item, which is paperwork, which means routine work involving written documents, such as forms, records, or letters. This is the sentence to illustrate the meaning of this word. Paperwork includes forms to fill in, permissions to obtain, and letters to write. Now, as the third word, it is crisis. Crisis, which is a time of intense difficulty, trouble, or danger. And to make it clear for you, this is the example. Natural disasters have obviously contributed to the economic crisis. Let's move now to the following word. Criticism. Criticism means the expression of disapproval of someone or something based on perceived faults or mistakes. Okay, if you want to criticize somebody, okay, you do all these. This is the example. Our recycling policy has repeatedly come under strong criticism from the part of the civil rights groups. Then we have administration, which is a noun. It means the process or activity of running a business or organization, and can be illustrated in this way. Our company is looking for someone who is experienced in administration. So we are looking for an expert in the field of administration. The following word is a phrasal verb. And phrasal verb is a verb plus preposition or an adverb. It means to reduce. So the phrasal verb is cut down on. Cut down on. It means to reduce. And this is an example. If you want to lose weight, you should cut down on fatty food. You have to minimize. Then we have another phrasal verb. Come up against. Come up against means to meet or to face. This is the example. The coach's strategy has come up against a lot of opposition from the team's supporters. Here we have another phrasal verb. Put up with. It means to accept, to stand, or to tolerate something unpleasant or somebody. For example, parents put up with behavior from their children which they do not tolerate from others. Okay, so they are trying to put up with their children to accept their behavior. Now let's move to the following phrasal verb. Keep up with. Keep up with means to know the latest information about anything. This is the example. I always keep changing my mobile phones to keep up with the latest innovations. The following word is a noun. It is incineration, which means the process of destroying waste materials by burning. And this picture is quite clear to show you the meaning of incineration. And here is my example. The government has banned the incineration of lead batteries as they damage the environment. The following word is a noun, which is material. Material means the matter from which a thing is or can be made. And I have already shown you some materials that can be recycled. This is the example. Most plastic raw material comes from crude oil. The following word is irritation, which means the state of feeling annoyed, impatient, or angry. This is the example. Heavy traffic in the morning, rush hour, is a constant source of irritation for me, for example. Then we have the following noun, partnership, which means a relationship between two people, organizations, or countries. For example, we can say several charity organizations have formed a partnership to help refugees all over the world. Now, I'm trying to use the presented vocabulary items in one of the types of questions that I have already mentioned at the beginning of the lesson. But let's have an idea about the type of the question. It is a multiple choice question. Now, in a multiple choice question, there are some strategies that you can resort to in order to get good mark. So to deal with, for the multiple choice question, consider the following tips. Number one, before you deal with this question, it's better for you to cover up the options, which are the distractors, and try to anticipate the correct answer by just reading the stem, the sentence that you are given. After trying your best to find the solution, you can try to check your answer by checking your anticipation by uncovering the options, okay, to check your answer. So it's better for you to start with easy stems, with the easy sentences. It's not necessary that you have, it's not a must that you have to answer question number 1. You can move to 2, 3, and so on. Okay? The last one is to check that you have answered all the questions before you submit your paper. Let's have a practice exercise for the same items that I have already presented. Choose the correct answer from A, B, C, and D. Okay? Let's have a look at the sentence. The constructive that teachers give their students usually pay off. Usually pays off. We are talking about something that teachers always do, okay, in class and outside class. So the constructive what? Is it paperwork or crisis or administration or criticism? Think about it. Okay, very good. It is criticism. The sentence looks like this. The constructive criticism that teachers give their students usually pays off, which is always beneficial for their students. Let's have a look at the second example. The doctor advises heavy smokers to smoking to avoid lung cancer. The distractors are, and you can notice here, all of them are phrasal verbs: cut down on, come up with, put up with, and keep up with. So the doctor advises heavy smokers to do what? Very good, outstanding. This is your answer. Cut down on. Of course, it's better to stop smoking, but this is the doctor's advice. Here is another example. Recycling means to put a used object and through a special process so that they can be used again. The options are incineration, material, irritation, and partnership. Think about it. Recycling means to put a used object and that's it. Material through a special process so that they can be used again. Now let's move to another group of lexical items. The first one is, as you can see here, concur. Concur. And concur here means to agree. This is the example. The committee largely concurred with your views about restoring the old building. So there is an agreement between them. Let's move now to this adjective. Constant. Constant means occurring continuously over a period of time. And this is the example. Students who study abroad should keep in constant contact with their families. They should keep in touch with them. Then we have an adverb. It is the word prohibitively, which means of a price or charge excessively high, which means very expensive. Here is an example. Making a reservation in high seasons would be prohibitively expensive, which means extremely expensive. Then we have this expression, which you are familiar with. Pass a law. To pass a law means to approve or put into effect a proposal or law by voting on it. This is the example. The government will pass a law banning smoking in public places. We hope so. Then we have this idiom. It is red tape. Red tape, which means paperwork and administration. Have a look at the example. In some countries, getting a driving license is a tiring procedure. Why? Because it is surrounded by bureaucracy and red tape. Here we go back, okay, to phrasal verbs. In this unit, you have a lot of phrasal verbs. Run out of. Run out of, which means of a supply of something to be used up, which is finished. This is a very simple example. My car ran out of oil while I was driving to school. Okay, that means the oil Finished. Now we move to another type of question in order to implement or to use all the vocabulary items that we have presented in the second part. It is the gap filling. You are asked to fill in spaces with words from the list. Maybe you are given 5 or 6 words, and you are asked to put only 4 words in 4 spaces. There are strategies, of course, to deal with such kind of questions. In this task, you have to fill in every space with an appropriate word from the list. You always have more words than gaps or spaces. So what you have to do here, first of all, we have to check the meaning and the part of speech of every word in the list. In this exercise, having an idea about the part of speech is extremely important because we are going to decide whether the space needs a verb or a noun or an adjective or an idiom maybe or an adverb. Then you have to read the parts of each sentence carefully before and after the space to help you choose the right word. Remember, at the beginning of this lesson, I said to you, don't rely on definitions. It's better for you to make sentences in order to know, okay, and to have an overall idea about the meaning of the word in its boundaries. So everything before the space and everything after the space, okay, is very important. Then start with the words you know and tick them off, cross them from the list. It is a very simple action, but it's very beneficial for you. So you know which ones you have used. Psychologically speaking, it makes you feel at ease when you cross the word from the list. But you have to be sure about it. Don't rush. Of course, this is our recommendation. Don't rush at all. If you write a word in the wrong gap or in the wrong space, then another word in the exercise may be wrong too, and you will lose here. Look for grammatical clues, which means parts of speech. Sometimes you know that this sentence needs a verb. And most of the time you have only 1 or 2 verbs, so it's an easy task for you to choose it in an easy way. Check your answers carefully when you finish to be sure that you have not left any out, okay, by mistake. Let's move to practice number 2. Fill in the spaces with suitable words from the list below. So we have here constant, concur, prohibitively, pass a law, and the last one is a phrasal verb, run out of. Let's have an idea about the parts of speech. Constant is an adjective, concur is a verb, prohibitively is an adverb, pass a law is an expression, and the last one is a phrasal verb. You have to take into consideration all these parts of speech in order to be able to choose the appropriate word and put it in its appropriate space. Let's, for example, start by this sentence. Local feeling about the economic crisis does not necessarily with the press. Does not necessarily with the press. Of course, here, if you want to look for a clue or for a keyword that may help us, okay, this is very important. Does not, okay? Of course, the adverb here is not necessary in the sentence. Suppose that it's not there. Now ask yourself, after does not, what do you need? Very good. We need an adverb. Given the fact that we have only one adverb in the list, so it's clear that our word is concur. This is not enough. You have to cross the word from the list in order to concentrate on the other words. Let's have a look at the second sentence. Building a new house is in an industrial city is expensive. You notice that this sentence is a simple sentence, and I think that all the elements of the sentences are there. So we don't need any other words. In this case, most of the time, we need an adverb. Okay, why? Because the adverb is not a necessary part of a sentence that you can rely on. It's not like a noun, like subject or adjective, or even a verb. So our choice is prohibitively. That's good. That's not enough. What do you have to do? Very good. You have to cross the word from the list in order to concentrate on the remaining words. Sentence number 3, my country will requiring helmets for scooter drivers. Again, we have to look for clues, for grammatical clues in order to help us knowing, okay, the part of speech of the word that is appropriate in the blank or in the space. This word is extremely important. Will. Of course, it is a modal verb, which helps us to find the appropriate word. It's clear that here we need, what type of speech do you need here? Very good. So we need a verb. The verb is pass a law. Pass a law. Your sentence is like this. My country will pass a law requiring helmets for scooter riders. We cross the word and we move to the last sentence. There's a stream of visitors to the scientific center every day. Okay? Here we have a stream, a noun, and we need a word to modify this noun. There is a stream of visitors to the scientific center every day, so we need what? Okay, this is a noun. You need an adjective, which is constant, and after that you cross the word, and this is for type number 2. Let's move now to the third group of words. The first word is constituent. It's a noun, which means being a part of a whole. Okay, it's an element, or it's a part of a sentence or anything like that. This is the example. Water constituents include the compound H2O. So it is a part of a whole. Then we move to reprocess, which is a verb, which means to process something again or differently, typically in order to reuse it again. And here I refer to the verb to recycle or recycling. This is the example. Fortunately, Kuwait has the necessary equipment to reprocess plastic. The following word is an adjective, a heartening. A heartening thing is inspiring or elevating, something that makes you happy. For example, it's heartening to hear that most of the students have got full mark in the midterm exam, something that makes the teachers happy, of course. Then we have an adverb, commercially. It's from the adjective commercial, which means in commercial terms or from a profit-making point of view. For example, you can say, ordinary mobile phones, the one before the touch phones, are no longer commercially beneficial. The following words is a phrasal verb, which means go along with. Go along with means to give one's consent or agreement to a person or their views. For example, whatever the majority members will decide, I am prepared to go along with, okay, which is democracy. Let's move to the third type of question, which is using words in sentences. And here is the practice. Put 3 of the following words in correct sentences. The words are reprocess, constituent, heartening, commercially, go along with. These are the words that I have already introduced. Okay? Let's, for example, choose this word, reprocess. Reprocess, of course, you have to know the part of speech. This is very important. It is a verb. It is a transitive verb. If you want to put it in a sentence, you have to guarantee that your sentence is consisting of 3 main parts, which are the subject, the verb, and the object. For example, for using this word, you can say, we reprocess plastic. Okay? This is a very simple sentence to which you can get full mark. If there are some motivated students who want to show their teachers or their examiners that they are good enough at English language and they want to add something else, for example, they can add this, okay? They can add so that it can be used again. So the sentence, from a simple sentence, we move to a complex sentence consisting of an independent clause, which is we reprocess plastic, plus a dependent clause starting with so that it can be used again. Let's, for example, make a sentence by this adjective, heartening. Heartening is an adjective, as we have already said. And if you want to make a sentence with the word heartening, you have to guarantee three main parts. For example, subject, verb, adjective. For example, we can say, the news is heartening. As simple as this. If you want to add something else, you can add, for example, the news about your success. You can add a prepositional phrase. So the news about your success is heartening, and a sentence like that is quite correct. Or you can say, the news which I have just got is heartening. So we move from prepositional phrase to a dependent clause, relative clause. We're moving from a simple sentence to a complex sentence by adding this dependent clause. The sentence looks like this. The news which I have just got is heartening. Back to the words. Let's say, for example, okay, let's use this. Go along with. Go along with is a phrasal verb, which is very important. You have to guarantee subject, verb, object. So your sentence look like that. All the members go along with the plan. This is a simple sentence, okay, to which you can get full mark. If you want to add something, for example, here, all the members will go along with the plan. Okay? Or you can say, all the members, if consulted, and here we have an adverbial phrase, all the members will, if consulted, will go along with the plan. So you can choose whether to use simple sentence using prepositional phrases or adverbial clauses, or you can use complex sentences by adding a dependent clause to your sentence. Okay? It's up to you. Now let's go back to the last group and the last question of vocabulary, which is word definition. Okay, you are going to be given some sentences in which one word is underlined, and you are going to choose one from A, B, C, D to define the word. Definitions are not intended to be memorized, as I have already said. Okay, they are a way to make the verb or the word clearer for you. All the definitions in A, B, C, D define the same part of speech. For example, if in the sentence you have a verb, all the definitions will be about verbs. You will never find 3 definitions about verbs and 1 about adverb, no. Okay? The only strategy that you have to follow is to understand both the underlined word in the sentence and the 4 definitions. This is the only strategy you have to resort to. For example, let's focus on the following words. We have already talked about conquer, which is a verb, paperwork, which is a noun, and come up against, which is a phrasal verb. We are going to work on these 3 words to show you how you can deal with a sentence like this. For example, this is the sentence. The committee largely concurred with the views about restoring the old building. The word concurred is a verb, and we have 4 definitions which define verbs. To concur, is it to give one's consent or agreement to a person or their views? Is it to be of the same opinion or to agree? Is it to process something, especially spent nuclear fuel, again or differently, typically in order to reuse it? Or is it to know the latest information about anything? Think about it. Very good. This is your answer. So, to concur means to be of the same opinion or to agree. Let's go back to the words. Now we are going to concentrate on paperwork. As I have already said, the part of speech is extremely important, so it is a noun. And here is the definition. A, B, C, D, exercise, and this is the sentence. At every stage in the production, there is a paperwork, including forms to fill in, permissions to obtain, and letters to write. We need to focus on the word. If you don't know the word, from the context, you can guess the meaning. And when you read the definitions, it's easy, okay, to find the meaning of the word. Paperwork, is it being a part of a whole or a time of intensive difficulty, trouble, or danger? Is it the process or activity of running a business or organization? And the last option is routine work involving written documents such as forms, records, or letters. If you know the meaning of the word, it's easy for you to choose. But if maybe sometimes you forget the meaning of the word, the context of the sentence is extremely helpful to know the meaning of the word. It's clear here that we are talking about something administrative, okay? So what do you think here? Very good, you got it. This is your answer, good. Routine work involving written documents such as forms, records, or letters. Back to the words. This time, it's clear that we are going to deal with the phrasal verb, come up against. Okay? Now, the coach's strategy has come up against a lot of opposition from the team's supporters. We have here two parts, the coach against the team's supporter, and here we have A, B, C, D options or distractors. To come up against as a phrasal verb, does it mean to meet or to face? Does it mean to reduce or to know the latest information about, or of a supply of something to be used up? Think about it a little bit. Very good. It's this option. So come up against means to meet or to face. At the end of this lesson, let me summarize what we have already seen today. At the beginning, we presented some lexical items, and we have shown you the types of questions that you may encounter in your exams, and we try to classify them according to the quizzes and to the exams. We have said that in the quiz, we have two types of questions, MCQ question, which is short for multiple choice questions, and you have one of two, whether word definition or word construction. On the other hand, in the exam, you have two types of questions, multiple choice question and gap filling questions, in which you are asked to fill in some spaces. At the end of this lesson, I hope that my lesson was fruitful for you. I hope that I can meet you again in other episodes. I wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors, and thank you for watching.